Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Stream live each week, Saturday, 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis. I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation, and I'm joined by my good friend and brother,
Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommy, man. How are you?
Man, things are good once again. And I know every week we start with that, how things going, and I typically say things are good.
Right.
Eric, even when things are bad, things are good. Right?
Come on now, say that again, Tommy. Yeah. I like that.
Even when things are bad, things are good.
Right.
And so I like, just like you, Eric, to put positivity out in the atmosphere.
Right.
And part of that being good all the time is that there's always an opportunity for improvement for myself, for our clients, for our community, for our world. And so things are good all the time because God is good.
Right. And I would say that it's also a reflection of us being able to check in with each other.
Yes,
so as
sir.
soon as I see you, it's good, you know? And I think that people need to understand that that's a beautiful thing, man, because when we grew up, Tommy, there were more neighborhoods, man, where you knew your neighbors, you kicked it with them. You know what I'm saying? In the afternoons when we came home from school, man, we played with people on the street. We live in a world today, man, where people are so busy that we're just grinding. You know, it's not like you and I talk to each other every day or see each other every day, man, because we are grinding. You hitting it left, I'm hitting it right. And so when we see each other, it really is a good thing because we know that we have, some common challenges, man, but we're going to get some encouragement from each other and from our community. Ty Austin, so glad, man, that you joined us early this morning. Thank you for being a part of our community. And community, we are going to lean in on you all to ask you to join with us this morning. Tommy, how was your week, man? Just talk about the kinds of things that you did this week.
Yeah, good week this week, Eric. I want to give a few shout outs. We had a few clients that engaged us for the first time and a few repeat clients.
Okay.
In the Cincinnati area, we worked with an organization called More Air.
Okay.
John Moore, president, CEO, his father, Mr. Jeff Moore, founder. They're an HVAC, that's heating, ventilation, air conditioning business, doing great work. So we were able to come together and do some staff work, staff development, some PD or professional development work with them.
Right.
Turned out to be an excellent opportunity, and we're looking to do a series of PD trainings for them for the rest of the year.
Okay.
And into next year.
Excellent.
We're also working with the school district in Colorado, Durango, Colorado, doing some systemic equity work. They have a large percent of their school students and families who are indigenous, Native American. In certain parts of the country, you may not see many Native Americans, particularly in the Midwest. But in this part of the country, their indigenous Americans are indeed everywhere.
Right.
In fact, in some cases, they're the majority. Right.
Right.
So we're working with the school district who have mostly Caucasian teachers and administrators, and really having some cultural incompetence or cultural insensitivity issues with understanding our Native and indigenous populations. And then finally, Eric, got a call from a friend of mine and someone that you know very, very personally. She reached out to me and referred me to a company in New York City.
Okay.
And that company, I'm not going to name the name right now. We're still in the process.
Right.
But that company is a very large U.S. company.
Right.
They have a chief diversity officer who is forward-thinking, very, very progressive, and trying to really push and pull his team together.
Come
So
on.
they are engaging us to be a DE&I partner of choice to support them over the next couple of years, potentially. So that's how the week has been. It's been win, win, win on all fronts.
Woo!
In other words, that's cheese on the burger.
All we do is win. Win. I love that, man. Bruh, I'm so proud of you, man, and so grateful for every company that has chosen to engage you, Tommy Lewis. They've got a fantastic consultant, one who cares deeply about the organizations that you work with, man. And I'm just thrilled to hear about that national platform that's elevating for you. I want to continue to encourage you around that SHRM thing, man, because and SHRM is under fire a little bit right now because of they got the inclusion conference. And they've got, I don't think I think it's Gretchen Carlson or somebody that's coming there, man, and they're under fire a little bit. But I think that's part of what happens in this space. People are sometimes frustrated when they feel that you're elevating a voice that hasn't been sensitive or inclusive of all. So hey, I get it, but I still think there's value to our voices being there and helping these organizations that are trying to make some steps forward. So, I think they can use people like you to be help them be more credible as well. As I think about my week, Tommy, been a phenomenal week. I know that when I talk to people, man, I don't know if it's the Zoom space that's exhausting us, man, Google Meets, Teams, whatever it is, man. But when I see people about Thursday, man, about Wednesday and Thursday, man, they're worn out. I think you said you saw somebody on Tuesday, man. They had already checked out, like, man, I'm done. I'm done. The week has killed me. So I think that people need to understand that all of this COVID stuff that we've been battling, exhaustion with the news media and everything, man, people are worn out. And so we've got to try to bring some light and some encouragement to the spaces that we're living in. Before I talk about sort of the professional week, man, I got to talk about family, man. And my wife and my daughter both are working remotely. Their telework environment is from the home. And so I came in a little early the other day, and I heard my daughter's voice in the living room talking to some of her clients. And I was getting dopamine just from hearing my daughter and then doing her thing and everything. I asked my wife, I said, do you get to just hear, Jillian's voice all day long? She said, yeah. She says, and sometimes she even starts singing. I said, oh my goodness. She's like almost messing up my work environment, but I love it, man. I love the fact that they get the chance to work together, man. And I love that part, man. And my son, Ethan, is still at home and just doing exercise and fitness and really doing some things, man, to move life forward. And so I'm excited about that part. But also from a business standpoint, man, I'm excited about the things that we're doing. We met with a number of clients this week. We do these comprehensive assessments, man, and had a chance to do some additional report backs to the CEOs about what we learned and then what we are suggesting as the pathway forward. So I'm really excited about that. I told you one of the things that we're doing in the last year or so as a new business is we're doing executive searches. So we delivered 4 candidates to one of our CEOs this last week, man. And it's just phenomenal, man, to see the look on a CEO's face when they see all this diverse talent. And so the question that I keep asking, Tommy, is why is everybody else having such a hard time in finding diverse talent? Because it's out there all over the place. And, man, just been blown away, man, by having several candidates, and you can't even decide yourself which one is the best for that organization because they're all so strong. I mean, I'm looking at them, Tommy, like, boy, we need to go ahead and recruit some of these on our team. If you don't want them, we'll take them, whichever ones don't win. But I'm just excited about that, man. And that is what the work that you and I do, Tommy. It's really about trying to help open up people's eyes to see the various ways and packages that people and talent come in, man. And so I just think that that's an important thing. So I've really enjoyed the kinds of things that we've been able to do around that work. And so what we wanted to talk about today, and we're going to invite the community in. Kendall Wright, it's good to see you, my friend. We're so glad to have you with us. We're going to have Kendall back on the show. But we kind of want to return a bit to diversity conversations, and maybe even talk about one of the new sort of issues that's coming into this space is sort of vaccines and vaccine mandates. We'll start there. But Tommy, what I thought we'd do, man, is to really kind of just do a little bit of check-in around what are the kinds of issues and challenges that different groups are facing in the workplace in terms of the work that you're seeing and doing. And then community, please weigh in. If you're seeing some diversity challenges that exist by different groups of people, we're very much interested in hearing about that. Tommy, what are you seeing, man, about vaccine mandates?
So I'm seeing a number of things, Eric, because we have a number of clients who are in the public sector. For example, they are with the municipality.
Right.
Then we have some clients and partners who are in the kind of first respondents, if you will, or even healthcare.
Right.
They're in healthcare. And so their service to individuals whose immune systems are compromised, or any, dust or anything can disrupt and be almost life-threatening to them.
Wow. Right.
And then we're also working with clients and partners who are in education.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that from an organizational perspective, Eric, it's more and more becoming a HR nightmare, right, whereby there's policies and procedures that are changing constantly based on either science and the data that science is offering and providing, or trends of things spiking with regards to COVID, or those taking the vaccination or not, COVID
right,
being down or not, the cases. And so these policies are changing almost weekly, and then there is inconsistent enforcement of these policies.
Yep.
So for example, there's a policy that for some of our partners and what I'm seeing out here in the world, we're needing 100% of our employees to be vaccinated.
Right.
And if you're not vaccinated by said date, you will be terminated.
Right.
That said date is then pushed back to another said date.
Come on now. Come on now.
Back again to another said date. And then it's becoming a please 100%. Right. And those who are not vaccinated are campaigning against, the vaccination based on a number of different rights, be it protected rights, legally protected rights, or opinionated rights. And it's becoming kind of a moving target. Right. Now, in closing, Eric, what I'm also seeing is that even the industries and professionals who are giving direct care to individuals whose health is compromised, they themselves are deciding not to get vaccinated and then subjugating and compromising the lives of others, or in interjecting some other dimension of diversity to protect their opinionated right. Let me give you an example.
Oh, bro, you on the roll today, Tommy.
The right of religion.
Right.
So legally, religion, when one claims a religion in the workplace, you do not have to define what their religion is.
Right.
It is unconstitutional to define and defend your religion. You can just simply say, it's because of my religion.
Right.
It may be one of the top 5 religions, or it may be the religion of me and today. Literally, Eric, we've had cases, right? It wasn't, one of the 100, just it's my religious preference.
Right.
And so companies and organizations have to, they have to weigh this or toe this balance between their mandate of wanting vaccinated individuals, and then these individuals, some of them, all of a sudden saying, I'm religious, and this is my religious protected right.
Right.
This in and of itself is exhausting to businesses, to people, and we are going to see the residual effects of this tit for tat type of selfishness in years to come.
Tommy, man, that's pretty good. I was just taking a look at a few things in terms of the 3 top reasons that people are struggling with these vaccine mandates. Number one is some people see it as their individual rights being thwarted. Sort of public health stance towards vaccination. It's about my individual rights. There's some people that really are looking at various religious standpoints, ethical dilemmas around the use of human cells and tissue. And so that gets into a whole number of things that people are dealing with. The body is sacred. That really I want to be healed by God. Some people are doing that. And then I like the religion of me and today. I like that, Tommy. And so those are the people that are sort of just this is a technical place that I can hide out. And then some people have some genuine religious views around my faith in God. We are running into some of the challenges that happen across diversities, man, and then the suspicion and mistrust of vaccines based upon historically things that have happened, the Tuskegee syphilis study and what happened around that. And then I learned about sort of in parts of Asia and Africa, the mistrust of vaccines that are tied to a Western plot to get rid of, to sterilize, if you will, people from eastern parts of the world. And so, man, this thing has become so convoluted, complicated. Tommy, I think that we're beginning to pay for our fascination with sensation.
Yes.
And so we're getting lost in that, man. And the media cannot pull themselves off of the drug of sensationalism. And then hiding your hand, throwing rocks, hiding your hand, saying it ain't me. But between social media, and I think, man, it's interesting what we're learning. I'm telling people, tune in to what's happening around Facebook, because some of it is, I don't want to say diabolical, but that's the word that jumps in my head, man, is that when you start enjoying the sensations of negativity and what that does, we're seeing the negative impact on a generation of young people. Tommy, we're seeing it in the form of anxiety, increased anxiety, depression, because people are going to this drug of social media and they're getting caught up and they can't make themselves look positive enough, when they're smiling about all the fun that I'm having in the world. And then quietly and privately, they're being shamed in ways, man, that are hurting a generation of folks. What are some answers for us, around that?
So there's a number of answers, and or receiving answers or solutions that ultimately a human being has the right for self-preservation.
Yeah.
And they also have the right, this inalienable right for creating the society to which they want to create. Mm-hmm. We've always done that because we are tribal, we are communal people. To the righteousness or the wrongness of it, we are that. And so the recommendations, solutions, or answers that I'm providing are in 3 buckets. One, as an individual, I would say that each person will ultimately have to live with themselves or die by themselves. So in this thing of life, choices that we're making in this time, although we are living sometimes individually and really taking care of ourselves, I don't think we always take care of ourselves the best way that we can take care of ourselves.
Okay.
So we make decisions based on information that we have received that we, for the most part, agree on.
Right.
Do I take the influenza shot? Well, yeah, I take the influenza shot.
Right.
Do you take the flu shot? Oh, no, No, I don't take the flu shot. What? Right? Now, I'm not making mockery of this.
Right.
So some people don't know that the flu shot is the influenza shot.
Right.
Right? Just like in another realm, there was an instance with Toyota, right? And Toyota's braking systems, the automobile maker. And folks said, don't buy a Toyota, but buy a Lexus. It's the same maker. Right?
Absolutely. Right.
So individually, people are making decisions, Eric, that may or may not help them, but that's their choice. The other bucket is, as we look at the immediate, as we as people look at our immediate environment, that's our community.
Mm-hmm.
And so our communities sometimes are very diverse, with diversity in all its different concepts and lenses. And then some communities are very narrow, very insular. So the information that is circulated within an insular community is just that information for that community. They don't know anything different. Right. And so some of these decisions are made just that. For example, and I'm going to draw to a close, there are communities that may not be for the vaccination.
Right.
And you would never hear of them because they don't care about sharing with anyone else their reservation, right? We don't hear a lot about the Amish community and their views of the vaccination at all.
Right.
We don't have media is not there. Folks who are not in the Amish community, they're not going into the Amish community, interviewing them, right? We even have our own biases about the Amish community, as if the Amish community cares about anyone else. Right? We don't even know. So those communities who are insulated, right, they make decisions with regards to their community. The third bucket, Eric, is that fortunately or unfortunately, we do have to consider the world.
Mm-hmm.
We do. And why do I say that? Because even in this situation we're in now with COVID-19, this coronavirus that was identified in 2019, now we're wrapping up 2022, 2 years ago. This coronavirus, COVID-19, for those in America, this was something happening out there on another side of the world.
Right.
If it wasn't going to come to this side.
Right.
We were only thinking about myself, my community, and now it's impacting us. And some of the decisions that we're making with regards to getting vaccinated or not is continuing to impact the world. Africa, Europe, LATAM or Latin America, Asia Pac or Asia Pacific world, part of the world. Looking at ourselves individually, looking at ourselves communal, and looking at ourselves globally is the approach that we need to take. Think globally, act locally. And I think we'll come to some consensus that we're all human beings at one way, shape, or form, man. We gotta work through this as people, as human beings.
Right. I appreciate that, Tommy. I agree with you. And I'll tell you, the thing is that what in some ways it's driving up increased demand for the work that you and I are doing. And I'll tell you, people have got to move from a place of sort of intellectualizing DEI, looking at it through the lens of marketing. You know, we want to show the world that we are doing programs related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Tommy, we are in a desperate place where people are struggling emotionally, mentally, and we've got to slow down things enough to deal with the person and not just the topic even. And I think that in many ways, Tommy, what I see is that it's almost ordained by God, certainly in his permissive will, that these pandemics are occurring. Because out of a pandemic, we find ourselves closer together. It's almost like if you're in Antarctica and you don't have a coat and there's somebody else there, y'all gonna be all hugged up. Because if you're not, you're dying quicker. So you're gonna start hugging. And so right now we're in that situation, man, where we're up against stuff that is killing people. And I think that out of this, maybe, hopefully, we'll find a way back together to care about each other. Because nothing in business matters if we can't work together, if we can't care about each other, if we can't love one another. At the end of the day, Tommy, everything else that we're doing makes no sense at all. And I want to return to this notion of, and I'm going to challenge the audience as you're listening to my voice. My challenge is that nobody is naturally interested in inclusion. Most everybody is self-interest oriented. And I'll suggest to you that if we continue to be self-interest oriented, then we will die with ourselves. The only way that we survive as people and as communities and as groups and as businesses and as cities is together. And so that's part of what we have to figure out, Tommy, is how we get off of meism and find our way to some collective value that we might have, and a willingness to sort of delay even my own gratification to care about what's happening to somebody that might not be like me. Tommy, man, if we don't get that, we're in trouble.
We're in trouble. Eric, as you were talking, a question came to mind and I wanted to run it by you. So say there's two sides of the fence with regards to vaccinations. Those who agree on vaccinations and may have even received the vaccination, and those who do not agree with vaccinations. Those who agree with vaccinations may defend why they have received the vaccination, and they may even argue why others should receive it.
Right.
I've also heard from those who do not agree with the vaccination, I've heard from them the defense of why you should not get a vaccination.
Right.
But I haven't heard as much, Eric, from those who are anti-vaccination, the argument of why someone should get it. Right?
Right.
So my question is, for those who believe in the vaccination, may have received it, they have a defense and an argument. Here's my defense of why I received it. Here's an argument why you should get it.
Right.
Right? Or even why you shouldn't get it in some cases. But for those who are anti-vax, from what I experienced, why don't they argue why one should get it, although they're of the idea that you shouldn't?
Because they feel oftentimes oppressed, they feel excluded, they feel marginalized, they feel like they're a mockery to people. So when you feel like that, you go into defense mode. You just simply go bunker down, you go into defense mode. And I tell you, Tommy, what I've done is I've had to take a look. There are the concepts of anchor biases, halo, and horn. In other words, sometimes when we see one thing about somebody that we love, that reminds us of ourselves, sometimes we can put a halo over them and we don't see the rest of their life. Or if it's something that we think is crazy about somebody, we'll put horns on them. And then that becomes the way that we don't see anything else in their life. And I think in many ways, Tommy, that's what's happened here, is that you either have a halo or a horn. And so if I'm wearing my halo of vaccinations, then when I see you being unvaccinated, all I see is horns. And what that means to me, Tommy, is that we throw away the rest of the person. And that's the problem. Because we've been doing a lot of these interviews and we've been teaching people about these. We say, be careful. You have to do some self-talk. In other words, when you see something in a candidate that reminds you of something else, take note of that, but then put that to the side and make sure that you're looking at the rest of the person against what are the competencies that we need for this particular job. And I find, Tommy, that's what's happening in this. And I have to watch that myself, Tommy. I really have to watch it myself that I don't throw away the rest of the person because they're against vaccinations. That can't be the only conversation that we have, even if we're having that conversation now from 8 feet apart, but we can't throw away the rest of the person. I think that's what's happening. And it's easier to see the weaknesses of the other side than it is to see them as human still and find a way to fight for them, man, and to care about them. That's hard to do, Tommy, especially when we think that your behavior is going to have an effect on me. And I think that's what makes this different than anything else that we talk about, is we're concerned about the things that you do. Now they're affecting me.
Yeah, Eric, that was a great answer. And I do appreciate it. And I hope our community heard the skill that you were mentioning. In fact, the way I positioned the question was from a training that I've learned from you. There's the critical diversity thinking exercise that you've been doing for years, right? And there's a topic that you drive people, you request that people take a look at the pros and cons of said topic. And what I've learned by doing the exercise as well as facilitating the exercise is that sometimes people, lock in either halo or horn with their topic, with their opinion, something that resonates with them, and they literally are unable to see the other side.
Right.
Which is empathy.
Right.
And I believe that through the course of this past 2 years and maybe years prior, we are losing the skill and ability to have empathy for one another, let alone grace. Eric, we seriously cannot argue on behalf of another person or people that we completely disagree with. Right? That's a skill. And if you are really doing this work of diversity, equity, and inclusion,
come on now,
and you are a company or agency or organization that has hired this DE&I expert, and that DE&I expert within the first 15 or 30 minutes of the coming together has interjected their own personal opinion, that's not the company or person you want. You want an expert, a person who may very well have an opinion,
right,
but is curious and interested in your view, your thought, your experience.
Right.
And then, like you said, that diversity, curiosity, to really inquire, tell me more, why, help me understand. Okay, I don't agree, but then I can go somewhere else and I can clearly articulate your view and your perspective. That's a skill. I don't agree with it.
Right.
But I've learned from your view, your community, and I can go to another to say, this is why the anti-vaxxers believe what they do. Well, Tommy, do you believe it? Not necessarily.
Right.
This is why they do it.
Right.
That is empathy. I'm walking in their shoes, or we are walking in their shoes. That is a skill that doesn't happen over a 30-minute training or a 60-minute training. That happens through the course of the journey and consistent aha moments and learnable moments and teachable moments.
Right. Wendell talks about it as a lot of the research that he's done around empathy deficit disorder. That we're getting to a place where it's almost become a disorder, that people are losing their ability to have empathy for other groups of people. We talk about disruptive cultural curiosity. In other words, we have to disrupt our pattern of thinking in order to sort of become curious about other points of view, other perspectives, so that we might then gain the cultural insight, the culturally competent insights that can be gained from listening to others, Tommy. Tommy, that's becoming harder to do. And Dave Chappelle is right now in the midst of that.
Yes, sir.
Right in the midst of that fight, man. And he's in some ways crossing lines, in some ways trying to teach us. In some ways, some of his own biases come out and come forward. He's a human being. And Tommy, what I'm fighting for right now, this is so important. I'm fighting for humans to give one another more grace. In other words, and I start with even the things that may be most offensive to me and our community. And so I'm seeing companies that come up with what they call zero tolerance policies. I don't believe in those, Tommy.
Right.
I don't believe in zero tolerance policies because it's nothing but other than window dressing. It's if we're not careful, a company technically saying that we don't stand for that. But I say that if you were to get rid of, to have zero tolerance for people with biases, then you will not have a workforce. See, that's what we have to understand, Tommy, is that when we have humans, all humans are biased. Bias is a human condition. And so we got to work on it. For me, the only issue, it's whether you want to be redeemed or not. In other words, if you've decided that I'm a bigot and I don't want to be redeemed, and that's having an effect on others, then this is not the place for you.
Yeah.
But if you are a person, in one of my companies, a person that was overheard using the N-word, talking to somebody on the phone in a corner by themselves, now they want to fire that person because somebody else overheard them. Well, hold on now. I hear you. I don't like that they said that. But what if every one of us, our minds and our thinking, Tommy, was fired up on a screen behind us? It's almost biblical. What Jesus wrote in the sand as they came to stone the woman that was seen as a prostitute. He wrote something in the sand, and then ye without sin cast the first stone. Everybody had to turn around and go home. Mm-hmm. That's what this is, Tommy. And man, I'm really fighting for some common sense responses. Organizations have a legitimate responsibility to create cultures that are respectful, that are fair, that are safe. But we also, Tommy, have to give room for our humanity. And I find that people are really mad about you doing something that offends me. But if I do something to offend others, well, they shouldn't be so sensitive.
That's interesting, right? I mean, how does that happen? Someone else says something that offends me or my community. That same person says something that I believe is offensive, I believe is hurtful and harmful, I believe that is downright wrong about another community, and I'm silent.
Right.
So I just wait my turn, right, with, arms crossed, saying, wait for it, wait until he says or she says something about me and us.
Right.
Now I know he's talking about them,
Right.
It's so bad, right?
Right.
But I'm not going to speak up there. But as soon as they say something about me, I'm going to blow the trumpet at the highest mountaintop.
Right.
Right. And then once that echo reverberates and other people, other communities pick it up.
Right.
Right. I don't necessarily have to say anything any longer because the echo is doing the work.
Right.
Right. And that's the noise that we're experiencing, Eric, where people are exhausted about.
Right.
I mention this time and time again. Sorry to be a broken record.
That's all right. We need to repeat stories.
But human beings, and research has shared this, and per my studies as well, human beings communicate in 4 ways. One way is verbally. If you understand the language that I'm saying, verbally, I'm communicating with you. If you don't understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, then I'm not verbally communicating with you.
Right.
You can't understand it. So one way is verbal. The other way is nonverbal, body gestures, facial expressions. And what that entails is interpretation, sometimes misinterpretation.
Right.
We can't always be accurate about how we're reading someone else's nonverbal or body language, right? The third way is written, right? Be it in an email, a post, a tweet. And when we write things, Eric, the words themselves do not have emotion at all.
Right.
Words themselves. It is the interpreter of those words that interject emotion.
Right.
Right. The fourth way that we communicate as human beings is called esoteric.
Mm-hmm.
It's spiritual. It's energy.
Mm.
Right. It's energy. And so that echo that I was talking about is the energy that goes out from someone or a community and then starts to come back.
Right.
COVID has been a constant sound of energy that's coming into our own spirits constantly, and that our psyche has to deal with it. We are now dealing with the psychological impact of COVID, right? Just like my study said that African Americans in particular have been dealing with the psychological impact of slavery over 400 plus years.
Right.
There's a book called The Psychological Impact of Slavery that just talks about sociology and psychology of the impacts of slavery, or the Holocaust, or homophobia. We just go down the list. Right now, we are just getting beat up with the language of spirit or the zeitgeist of the time. And if we're not careful,
brother,
we're going to be consumed and usurped by the negativity that you mentioned, Eric, by the sensationalization of negativity, that we are more apt to defend evil, right, than to speak goodness and righteousness.
So I'm going to say to the audience that I've got the answer. You know, you're never supposed to say that when a person just put a world-sized challenge before and I'm going to say, I got the answer.
Yes, sir.
But I do. And here's what I would offer. That part of what we need to do is recognize what Tommy just said. And I say this almost every day, Tommy, that we don't recognize how much pressure we're under because of COVID-19 and racial and cultural pandemics, man, that are happening all around us, Tommy. But that stuff is creating an atmosphere of stress, fear, and anxiety. First of all, you have to recognize that you are in a battle. And it's not even a battle with people. It's not a battle with people first. It's a battle with what's happening in the atmosphere around us. You have to gain consciousness of that battle first. And once you recognize that, then any shortness that you run into when you deal with human beings, chalk some of that up to that. The answer is more grace and more patience, more reserve. Hold the peas in your mouth before you say something crazy to somebody, because either they're reacting out of stress and anxiety or you are. And so we got to understand that we are in a battle, Tommy, that's affecting us every day. And we have to find more lighthearted moments. Don't choose deepness over lightheartedness when you are in a battle, because you don't know really what you're fighting. And we need each other. So the more energy, Tommy, I expend canceling others, that's one less person I have as a potential ally or advocate. And I'll tell you, Tommy, that on my good days, man, I enjoy extending patience and grace and listening to others. On other days, man, I'm just like everybody else. I blow it sometimes, Tommy. I'm short-sighted. I'm short-fused. Oftentimes, for most of us community, we're being short fused with our own families.
Yes.
Because we bring all that stress and anxiety home. We've been beat down, and we don't even recognize that all of us are impacted by all the stress that every one of us is under, and we come to workplace and we collectively are expressing that. And then by the time you're at the end of the day, you're exhausted. And that exhausted carcass that you drag home, now you want to enter into a deep conversation with somebody in your family. Not so. Hold your tongue, because we need each other, don't we, Tom?
We do. We got that's that discipline, the self-discipline. Got to hold your tongue. And we're losing discipline too. And I know we're saying, or I'm saying we, that's the general statement. Please, community, and you all know us. It's not always personal. When I say we are losing discipline, folks like, no, I'm not talking. I want to type in, I'm not losing discipline, right? But I want to challenge us,
right?
Even in that statement. If you, me, we, if we have not lost discipline in some aspect of our life, have we achieved all of our aspirations that we have outlined for ourselves? Right. Because for the most part, it takes discipline, especially when we know that things don't always come easy.
Right.
In other words, some of us have a fantastic plan A, and then we have a plan B and plan C. And we work with discipline toward plan A, but something happens and then it doesn't fall through. So I have to fall to plan B. I was educated by some wise people to not have plan Bs and plan Cs.
Right.
To always have plan As.
Right.
So when a plan A fails, you just got another plan A.
Right.
If you set yourself up that with plan B's, C's, D's, and E's, that means that of those 5 different opportunities, you're giving sometimes 20 and 30% towards something, right? Mm-hmm. So if I want to have empathy with Eric Ellis, and well, that's plan A, to have empathy. Plan B, if you don't do right, then, I'm going to have zero tolerance. Plan right. C, I'm going to execute zero tolerance, not just with Eric Ellis, but everyone else that I can't have empathy with. So now I'm giving 20% toward giving empathy with Eric, 20% toward building a zero tolerance policy, and 20% into executing that zero tolerance policy with everyone with no grace. See how that cycle is. What I'm talking about right now, Eric, is the work that we do with organizations and their HR policies. We started this at the beginning of our show today.
Right.
I said that HR policies and HR departments, they're having the fight of their life.
Right.
They do not know what's next, and they're changing on a dime, and the change is landing on people, and people are sick and tired of having no control over what's happening to them at work, at home, in their personal lives. And it's all because of having these multiple plans. The first plan, the only plan, Eric, is grace. And that's the same plan that God gave us. He's been giving us that grace for a millennium.
Better figure it out.
Better figure
it out, because that is what it is. And it's funny to me, I'm going back to what you said about the policies. 100% is required. Well, that's tomorrow. Well, no, next week. Well, how about let's do it in a month? You're really finding out that you don't have that much power.
Nope.
That when people start revolting, just mass revolting, then you find that you don't have a lot of power. What we're seeing, Tommy, is that people are driving the agenda that's happening in corporations. And, we changed the title from vice president of HR in one of my clients to vice president of people and culture.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it's about, Tommy, is that we've got to realize that all of this is about our people and what kind of culture are we going to create for them. This telework thing, we thought that was just for a season. Over. Ball game. You don't have no choice over it. Now people are demanding it. And so as you look at trying to have a workforce, how about that? Then you're going to have to compromise what happens. I want to share this, Tommy. It's just a jump. I'm going to do a tangential thing, and if you want to come back, you can. But part of what we talked about is grace. And I want to add to that, in some ways, community, simplify your life and squeeze the joy out of every moment that you can. Last night, my wife and I were in the bedroom, we're looking at a TV show. And all of a sudden, both my kids jumped on the bed, and it's 4 big giant adults in one bed. They got really small with everybody in it. But you know what, Tommy? I could just feel love just going from person to person, man. And it didn't really matter what we were watching. We were feeling the connection that most of our country and our world has missed because of social and physical distancing. We've even socially and physically distanced ourselves from each other at home. At one time, that you remember, that was a recommendation. Throw your mask on even at home. We missed that connection.
Yep.
And just us being there, man, as part of a 6-person family, 4 of us were there, connected as one. And when you laughed about something, Tommy, you felt it go down the line, just like dominoes. And so I offer that to our community, Tommy, that in all the midst of the complexity and the complex work that you and I do in organizations, trying to study their cultures and help them understand all the patterns and things like that. At the end of the day, Tommy, I think what we're saying to people, man, is we got to find a way to care about each other and connect with each other, and then be nimble enough to move to wherever we need to move to respect each other and create the kind of environments that would allow people to have a sense of belonging and to be able to deliver their best to each other first, but then to the mission and the vision ultimately.
That's a fantastic story, Eric. I appreciate you sharing that. Not only to elevate the conversation, we don't always have to be theoretical or deep, like you said. Sometimes you can make it very plain and simple, if you will, right? In reverberation of laughter, the endorphins that kick into our bodies when we're laughing,
right?
So that's something to encourage the community. Let's laugh.
Right.
And let's generate laughter in other people, because what we may find funny may not be funny to someone else.
Right.
But if we can find out what's funny to someone else, let's stoke that fire of humor in someone else. That is giving it forward, right? It's not selfish. Oh, I find that funny. I don't know why you're not laughing. No, it's that reverberating chord that we strike it. It's funny to me. It's funny to you. It's funny to us. And it's not just funny, it's humor. It's laughter.
Right.
And there's some science behind laughter. We don't have to get into that as well. But in just the different types of laughter.
Right.
That's something we encourage when we do our work in companies. Hey, let's laugh.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Tommy, let me ask you this as we come down to our last 5 or 6 minutes. Where are you finding joy in your life, man? Because in the midst of, let me share this psychology for people that aren't entrepreneurs. When you're an entrepreneur, Tommy and I have had good days, good months, bad months, good years, bad years. In the good years, we've been really happy. And the bad years or bad months, it can be a struggle. But we are now in a season of a lot of stuff going on. And there's so much activity going on, Tommy, that sometimes it's hard to keep up in it. I mean, I have one client, one prospect had to write me about 3 times. Are you interested? We still would love to get a proposal from you. Will you send us something? we've extended the date. I said, oh, what? I didn't even know. And so, yeah, I'm coming. You show me how inclusive you are by holding the door open for me to get in. Thank you. God bless you. So that's where we at, man. And the thing is, but the question is that busyness brings its own anxiety and stress and burden. It's hard for you and I to say the word burden connected to success.
Oh, come on, Eric. Come on.
There sometimes is a burden there. So I'm going to tell those of you, first of all, if you find yourself in a season of not much going on, enjoy a part of it. Because that's maybe the rest that God has given you so that you're ready when you get the burden of a lot to do. And when you're caught up in that burden, the question I'm asking you, Tommy Lewis, is where do you find joy, man, in that? I know you love your work. I do. I do too. We appreciate that. But there's a burden that comes with that. Listening to the challenges of people and organizations. When you care deeply, see, we haven't been able to turn off the part of us that does care. And so sometimes we carry that further. Tommy, how are you getting by that and making sure that Tommy Lewis and his family are getting some rest from that and some joy?
Yeah, great question, Eric. Two ways for me. Personally, I am getting incredible joy, laughing, learning, growing with my wife and my son. I'm making very selfless decisions that for them, they're finding incredible joy. And I am finding joy in my decision to accept their joy, right? For example, very quickly.
Okay.
Right? Bryce, my son, notified me last week that he does not want to play high school baseball.
Right.
Not this year.
Right.
Now, you all know in the community, we love baseball.
Right.
And he's saying, the school thing is getting a little bit aggressive. I don't want to backslide academically like I did the year before. So I'm not going to play baseball this year. My heart sank and rocketed up at the same time.
Right.
Oh no.
Say that again now. And you got to tell people what that means. That's deep.
So my heart sank because I was like, oh, the commitment that we made for you to play baseball over the years to get to this point. But my heart shot up like a rocket because I said, Bryce, you get it. You told me you don't want to be a professional athlete, right? You want to be a medical doctor. Playing baseball will only help you a little bit being a medical doctor. You have to do well in school. Thank goodness you see, I'm happy for you to make your own decision, boy. That's what made me happy, right? And so my joy came out. Professionally, Eric, real quick.
Yeah.
We hired a new executive administrator to support me and the company.
Right.
Nicole Keith.
Okay. Congratulations.
Nicole is fantastic. Man, I'm laughing at myself because I have been killing Nicole with my long talks. I've been so frustrated at work, so overwhelmed with opportunity, so overwhelmed with blessing that in the past, I've been calling Eric Ellis any time of the day. Right. I've been calling other people any time of the day. But now I have someone that's literally 10 feet away from me.
Right.
And when I'm talking to her, man, she looks up out of respect, because I'm her boss, if you will.
Right.
Out of respect. But I can see it on her face 10 minutes in, like, I got work to do, Tommy. And I'm bombarding her. So I want to say thank you, Nicole, because non-verbally, you've told me I can come to you to get all this stuff out.
Right.
But at the same time, you've told me I am here to do my job, and I like to do my job. So I've had to fall back. I find great joy in that, tremendous joy.
That's
So
awesome.
that's what I'm doing.
I love
Yeah.
that, Tommy. Thank you for that story. And again, that transparency and vulnerability. I'll tell you what I've been finding joy in. I'm going to find a new joy tonight. Breaking news, new joy tonight. We've been finding joy, Tommy, and ordering the nicest dinner from wherever we want to.
Yes.
It's enough to do that, Tommy. We can order out from Papa Do's every night if we want to. And then we can go up to Cooper's house. We can do it every night. But guess what I'm about to I'm announcing right here on the show as we close out today. I'm going to find joy tonight in me and Ethan cooking the dinner. We got to cook a dinner tonight at my house and find joy in that. Because there's something beautiful, man, about stumbling around in that kitchen, going to our iPhones and getting some recipes, man. And getting some recipes and torturing the rest of the family. We're about to do it. Breaking news right here, man. Me, Ethan. I know he's not listening, so he won't know that I've already tapped him on the shoulder, he and I. But I think, Tommy, that's a part of what we have to do, man, is make the time to not just order from the best restaurant in Cincinnati. How about, because we all have been missing the freshness of food that you can cook, man. So I'm declaring right here as we wrap up. I've had a blast with you today, Tommy. Enjoyed our conversation. Community, thank you for being patient for Tommy and I as we enjoy each other. We absolutely enjoy you. And we want to tell you, give yourself and others grace as you go through this week because we need it. Tommy, last words.
Last words. Want to encourage the community to send a quick update or question or even a topic that you want us, Eric and I, and the community to talk about. We have a lot of things we like to share, but we want to talk about what you want to talk about. This is Diversity Conversation. So send that to Eric and I.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a great week. We thank you for joining us. Bye now.
Bye now.